Hello, my friends. How are you feeling about letting go these days? It's almost everybody talk to, and so many people are going through so much intensity. And the ultimate teaching for most is to let go. And that is not something most of us have practiced as a regular daily practice to let go. But I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about, there was one of the people on there who is most likely in the process of dying. And for maybe a year or so, it's been going on. And his experience, the people on this podcast are quite awake and aware, I would say. So they have something to lean into and to draw from, to let go into. And I think that is very, very essential. There was something very beautiful about hearing the sharing of this one man and how, who is actually in a role as a spiritual teacher. So he has gone through an awakening and a transmission, and whatever lineages have certain ways of passing that on. So when he got his diagnosis or his sentence, whatever we want to call it, there's all the things he went through where he had not let go yet. And of course, nobody has fully let go. When we are in the midst of our lives, when we are young, we're teenagers or, adults, there is a drive in all of us to live life and to be engaged in life and to succeed and experience things. That is part of coming, I would say, into this dimension. But it's not all of it. One thing is to come in and enjoy it all. And then there's also a part of not getting attached to it or identified with it. So what I really appreciated hearing him share was how a lot of these identities, these roles, even as a therapist, teacher, there was a lot of that just it just had to be let go of. And what he was left with was just this present moment, which is all we ever have anyway. But as long as we're engaging and identifying with the outer world, then we don't necessarily spend too much time here. So when these things happen, then you can say it's kind of being pressed upon us, the letting go. So what I would say is, if we have a practice, if we don't wait to practice letting go until it is pressed upon us from some kind of outer circumstance that's going to be very challenging and very intense for many, that is when there is so much pressure on that it's being forced out of us. We are being pressured, like I talked about the other day. It's like we're being pressured into a corner, or we have kind of painted our way into a corner where we tried all of this, and then suddenly you're just left with nothing. Maybe even the spiritual practices and the psychological things that used to work, they may not work, or at least for a while, because that's where there is a letting go happening, and that's challenging. So there were a few things that touched me because it's something I have shared here for so long, for years and years, and it's self-love. And many times when you are pressed in a corner and you're going through an immense amount of challenge and intensity and fear or pain or whatever it is. Many times, what it can come to is that you just want to be incredibly loving to yourself for how hard it is, how challenging it is, what you're going through, whether it's your physical body or relationship challenge or loss of loved ones, loss of finances, change, big changes that kind of pull out the rug from under you, and you're in a way left with nothing. And that's where, if we have a practice to really love every single part of us, get away from that making yourself wrong and judging yourself and being hard on yourself. You can feel how dense that is and how contracted that is. And if it's being really pressed upon you, whatever circumstance, then you start realizing how futile it is, how absolutely futile it is to be anything other than love to yourself. And of course, to everyone else. But I think for many of us, we really have to make that a priority for ourselves first. So before anything gets pressed upon us, and I know the world right now, there is a lot that is being pressed upon a lot of people. And it must be so, so hard if they don't have something to rest back into. And that will, of course, be your true self, your I am presence, your presence, your the core of who you are, your soul connection, which is so different from all the things we engage in the world. If you have learned the gift of being very kind and loving to yourself, no matter what, and not start trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? What is, you just really make it even harder on yourself than it already is. That's going to benefit you. We do not know what we are, moving into in the world right now. It's very, very chaotic. But also, we have never known, as long as you can think back, everybody has died at some point. There is a place where we all have to move through that death process. For some, it's very challenging. For some, it might be much more smooth and easy. But whichever it is, and then there's also the whole thing in between where we can really, we choose our own reality and we can actually maybe change the circumstances. There's the whole gamut. And you need to find out where you fit in, what resonates with you, and not try and do something that somebody else is doing unless you really feel that resonance inside. So letting go, it's been my surrendering and letting go. It's been my practice for a long, long time. And it is getting easier, but I just keep seeing layers that I didn't even know I was identified with. And that's why it's not just something you do overnight. We can practice and let go and surrender, and it's going well. And then there might be some of these deeper layers that we don't even have access to yet. But then when that pressure comes from the outer, then it's like, whoop, it's really in your face. And it really is like we're being squeezed, like a tube of ketchup or mayonnaise. We're just being squeezed, all that false identity, that unmet, unintegrated, unloved, all these parts, they're being squeezed up. And because you don't really have the outside to depend on anymore to fix it, to cover it, to soften it, it's like, whoop, here it is. What now? That's when we really have the opportunity to fully allow it to be squeezed out, not try and fix it, not try and figure it out. It in the squeezing it out, there will be insights coming. There will be a lot be revealed about ourselves, about our patterns, about these unconscious behaviors. There might be some images, some memories when we really let ourselves stay in that corner, like I talked about the other day. Like if you feel you're squeezed into a corner because everything you were just trying to use, to stay out of the corner and to stay in control and be able to manage it all, you grab it and then it just kind of dissolves into nothing. And that's why at some point you're left with nothing. And when that squeeze is on, it can be really, really hard because all the parts we have not seen, met, loved, let go of, whatever it is that needs to happen in that squeezing out, letting go process, they will be there. And that doesn't mean that there might not be another big squeeze coming the next day or the next month or the next year. I think it's really learning to let go into the process and realizing that, it is all love. When you have had a glimpse of that, even though the mind, I mean, in my case, my mind for years, it would tell you that, the opposite, even though I had this incredible spiritual opening that lasted for several months, where literally I just experienced love. And so I know that, but I would say not every part of me knows that yet. It has not been fully embodied in every part of me. And those are the parts that are being squeezed up to be fully experienced, fully met, fully loved, because they are loved. The parts that we have not loved, when that love comes in, it just comes back into the ocean of love, back into the love fold. It, it can't go anywhere else. But we have to be willing to stop resisting it, attaching to it, holding on to it. There is that letting go. And I know I've done a number of videos. I think they were mostly on surrender. I think I did a surrender 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that I kind of walk you through some of these letting go, how to do it, how to be with it. But because we are in such a challenging time in the world right now, where, as far as I can see and I experience, we are being squeezed, we are being pressured to let go, because what we have identified with and been attached to and holding on to, that of course is the false matrix. It is the veil of illusion. And because that's crumbling right now, you go, oh, and it's like, it's nothing. There's nothing to hold on to. And I think it's really helpful when you see that, when you're able to just create that little distance so you can say, oh, that's what's happening. Instead of having, the veil totally covering your eyes up close, then it's hard to create a little gap so you can actually see through it or behind it. So when I'm sharing this, I'm hoping it will give you the opportunity to just have a little gap where you can just see, oh, it's actually not really me. It is something that I'm experiencing. And if I can let all the things that are coming up to the surface, if I can just allow them, really feel them, and do your best to hold yourself in that process with every single part that is being revealed. If you can hold yourself in that love, the process is going to be a lot easier. It may not be totally easy or comfortable. It all depends. We do not know what we have in here that needs to be squeezed out. and what kind of a squeeze we need. But we have to really realize that it's not because we're bad or we're being punished or something. It is the love just squeezing everything up and out, which is not love, which is not the oneness that we are. So it is love doing this. It's not doing it to us as a mean thing. It is just allowing us to the opportunity to just surrender and let go of anything that is not aligned with love, with God, with your true nature, with your soul connection. So the more we can practice that just every day, and I would definitely recommend to listen to some of those tapes that I just mentioned, and also many other ones, but to really make that a practice. So if, God forbid, if you would have to go through some challenging times, you already have something in your soul, in your felt sense experience, where you will be able to be present with it. You don't try and resist it, or, you're just like, okay. And when I've done it, there's been this like, okay, yes, there's an immediate almost, I'm not perfect, but there's almost an immediate surrender. It's like, okay, show me then, show me. And allow that energy, the fear, the terror, the memories, whatever it is that's coming up, just allow it. You didn't do anything wrong. You have been living in a false matrix for a very, very long time. And that's why we've all taken on these identities, believing that's who we are. It's those false identities from the false matrix. Those are the ones we're letting go of. And that, my friends, is a good thing. So maybe we can celebrate it a little bit when you get a little more distance and you're able to see it more what's going on. You take a deep breath, and then there can be a conscious letting go, a conscious surrender, instead of an unconscious resisting and holding on. So please let me know how this resonates for you in the comments. And of course, you're always welcome to reach out to me if you need some support in that. It's not an easy process if you are just starting out. It's like there are some things to learn how to do that. And that's not something I can necessarily do on my YouTube channel, but I can certainly do that in one-on-one sessions where you get the felt sense experience of how it works. And that's why it needs to be a one-on-one, so that you can really get the full experience of it in your own body. And that's worth a lot. It's going to give you a lot more peace over time. But it is a practice. And why not start practicing now?